Hello, dear colleagues. Could you please switch on my video? I'm happy to welcome you all. I'm going to speak about mercury content in fur of sea otters and fur seals on the Isle of Bering. Mercury is one of the most toxic metals, and the content of mercury in biota is increasing, and it reaches its maximum content in birds and mammals because they are on the top of the food pyramid. Mercury is a poison, and it might lead to deficiency in fertility rates, in functioning of the nervous system, and so on. Fur of the animals contain one type of mercury that comes there from blood. We were collecting hairs of the animals, and we didn't damage animals in any of the way. And it is very easy to transport these samples and analyze them. So fur is most convenient for monitoring of mercury content in natural populations. The purpose of our work was to analyze the level of mercury content among sea otters and stellar sea lions on Commander's Islands. We collected fur from the dead animals. It was in the northern part. Then as for live animals, it was taken in 2015, and next year, okay, it was in south and the western part of the island. Then in the northern part, we found bodies of 2 adult males, and we also collected hair samples. As for sea otters, okay, these were opportunistic samplings, and they were collected in between 2003 and 2010. Altogether, we had 16 samples from adult sea otters, and then additional numbers from pups. As for this fur seal, okay, so you see the numbers, yeah, of adults and juvenile animals. So first we used binoculars to remove all additional elements there. Then we were washing these hairs with distilled water. And then these hairs were dried out, and right before the test, okay, we used 1% detergent solution for washing them, and then 3 times with distilled water. After that, it was again dried out. Then the hairs were weighed up, and we used spectrometric equipment with this pyrolysis unit, and its capacity is 2.5 nanograms. Each sample was tested twice. If the concentration of mercury was different between 2 samples, more than 10%, then we had up to 4 or even more tests, and then we used the average numbers. Each sample was subdivided into 3. So first it was the hair that was just mechanically treated, then with chemical detergent and distilled water, and the final, it was distilled water, then detergent, and distilled water again. So in all cases, the better we were cleaning the sample, the higher the mercury content was. Probably this is linked to the low level of mercury in the external elements that might surround or be attached to the hair. So statistically, these numbers and the differences were not reliable in the first two columns, and we used only the most treated samples. This is the content you can see for the adult males. For pups, it was over 4 milligrams per gram, and these results are close to the results we obtained for the pups at St. Paul's Island. And the female numbers and pups content was a bit lower. And the same was identified for St. Paul's population. So probably these results are explained by a small sampling of animals. So we believe that the reliability of the statistical data can be reached through a more wider sampling. And the northern and the western hollouts, again, they demonstrated different results. Probably it is due to different feeding grounds, or probably the pups, when they were still developing their fur in the womb of the females, this content was accumulating differently. In these two hollouts, animals use the space quite differently. So maybe this is true for the reproductive period as well. And this is the level of mercury for sea otters. This is for adult animals, and for the pups it was several times lower than in adults. And as I said, the mercury content depends on the number, on the count of these levels in blood. Different types of otters, first seals, stellar, sea lion, we always observed that the level of mercury content in pups was much lower than in adults and females. So probably pups didn't get all the mercury that was available in the female body. Maybe it depends on different nutritional habits, and this also could have affected the mercury content in fur. So if we compare fur seals and sea otters, for fur seals the level was higher because sea otters, they eat food that contains lower levels of mercury. There's several thresholds medically determined, and these thresholds are important for various effects, clinical effects for the body. For example, the concentration, and we can see so the concentration of mercury in fur of these animals, but thresholds for polar bears, for example. And we see that for pups, it was in 28%. And as for sea otters, 2 out of 6 animals, they demonstrated higher levels, and this difference was 12.5%. As for the pups of sea otters, the content was not above the threshold. So we see that the clinical effects levels, which are displayed on top of the slide, these content levels were not increased yet. Thank you for your attention.